Right now.
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 Because it's time to right now.
Right now.
Right
Right now.
Welcome to the Right Now Writers Group, our weekly writing group. As you can see, we're just a bunch of writers here to chat about all things writing and maybe, just maybe, try not to procrastinate on our writing. Welcome to the community, my friends. I'm Kaufman, daily writing streamer, fantasy author, and I'm on a mission to help you finish your next book. So make sure whether you are a weekly community member or you're new to the community, come join us every Wednesday, same time, same place. This is our 56th meeting of the Right Now Writers Group. Whether you want to hop on stream or just come chill in the comments, this is a great way to help you stay consistent. So welcome, drop a comment, say hi. And if there's any writing things that are kind of on your mind, feel free to let us know. We would love to chat about it. By the way, welcome friends, Megan, Lynn, welcome. You guys know me. I'll kick it over to my fellow writers over here and let them intro themselves.
Whoa, it's like Crazy Root Beer is here, or you can call me Crazy, whichever you prefer. Hi. And I hope everybody is having a good day. And I am currently still working on my Raziel Chronicles, obviously, and still working on a few chapters, trying to get add more details to ones that were completely messed out. So hopefully that'll work out today.
I believe in you, Crazy. I think you can totally do it.
I can do it!
All right, chat soul.
So everyone knows me as Chat Soul. Today, I'm usually working on fan fictions, trying to finish Raging Inferno, and I have no idea what I'm working on today. I have kind of been out of it, so.
All right, so it's going to start on a new novel. All right, that sounds good.
Nah, maybe not that far.
It's kind of interesting. Last week I didn't get very much accomplished because of some of the internet challenges I was facing. But you know what's interesting is I keep coming up with new ideas for the second book. It's really unfortunate. I mean, it's good, but I'm not going to need to finish the first book first. Oh man, I realized though, after giving myself a few days of a break from writing specifically, I realized I was putting on a lot of pressure on myself to finish Scarecrow as fast as possible. And I decided to give myself a little bit more leeway and less pressure to finish it when it's ready.
I think we actually do a lot worse when we force pressure on ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Or when we try to rush a book to finish it, because then we end up missing the details.
Yeah, I asked myself how it was coming across. I think I just keep feeling pressure to finish it, and I don't actually even know if it's the community at all. It's just me. It's just self pressure. I think I'm just enthusiastic, and I really want to see the characters brought to life, as we all do, right, with our stories as fellow authors, right? Want to see the characters, see the story brought to life, and see how readers and people respond.
Yeah. But sometimes you can't rush art.
Do you guys ever feel like you inadvertently pressure yourselves with any of your projects?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, I think during the last writing challenge that we had, I will admit I pushed myself through that. I really did want to try to reach 200K if I could, since I got so close.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, I kind of burnt myself out a little bit. I think that's partially why I've been having so much problems lately. Is just I pushed myself a little too far, and now it's like I've got all these projects that I'm trying to work on, but I wrote so much, it's like I just drained myself for that.
Oh, that sucks. So now you're trying to really push yourself to write, but it's just not very effective.
I'm not pushing myself per se. Right now I'm just trying to tell myself, just do your minimum. which is about, I change it to about 1,500 words a day.
Mhm.
Just do that. And once you hit that amount, don't do any more. And that so far seems to be helping a little bit. So
Okay, so it's like a daily word count goal seems to be enough like motivation for you right now. Okay, that's good. And I think this is actually one of the reasons why I've continued with daily streaming, despite surpassing the year. I mean, probably 650 soon. And I think part of it is just the consistency for me. I mean, you guys all know, I started writing. I started the daily thing just to keep myself accountable. And I think I just decided I didn't want to stop daily sprints or daily like writing streams until I've at least finished Scarecrow. So I was like, I feel like for me, that's like would be achieving my goal. And then I'll kind of circle back and think about what makes sense.
Sure.
Yeah. I think that's still a high minimum.
yeah, it is still a bit of a high minimum, I think, compared to, I think the majority of authors I see lately is they're usually just more like 500 at max.
Mhm.
Nah, my original minimum was 1,000.
Mhm.
An extra 500 really isn't that much, especially because I mean, all of the stuff I'm working on is stuff that I enjoy,
Mhm.
and that makes it a lot easier to write, even when I'm burnt out. So,
And you said you're what 1,500 words a day is your goal. Mhm. And I mean, you're also a really fast writer, so I mean, that's probably a pretty easy goal for you on like as a daily goal.
yeah, if I can actually sit down and focus and not procrastinate, I can actually knock that out in like 15 minutes.
I was
Yeah.
giving it 5.
Hey, I have to give myself an extra 2 minutes to think.
How many words can Chat Soul pump out in 60 seconds? And go.
I should probably
Challenge
actually test
accepted.
that.
Okay, so it takes you 2 minutes to, think about it. So that would mean it takes you 3 minutes to write up. There you go. Grand total 5 minutes right there.
5 minutes. So Chat Soul's average 500 words per minute.
Ugh. I don't think
Gold
it's
standard.
quite that, but it's probably close.
Gold standard.
I mean, for some reason, I picture if you were like in a cartoon or maybe had magical powers or something,
Hmm.
you probably do. Um, all you'd have to do is just press. You think about something, you go, "Oh, okay, I think I know what I want this scene to go," and then you push a button, and automatically there's all your story right there. It's like, all right, well, there's 500 words.
Oh,
I gotta admit, there's actually times it feels like that. I'll think of something, I'll work on a story, and then it's like, okay, well, I know how the scene is gonna go,
hmm.
and then I just start writing, and I look at my word count, I look at what I've written, and then I look at the time, and I'm like, it's only been like half an hour. Okay, then.
Which
You know
I
what's cool is
completely
I'm the
understand.
opposite. I feel like I'm the opposite of you a little bit. Like I feel like I start off all of my sprints really, really slow. Usually I like start by like reviewing or revising like what I'd written last time. And I always start off with a really slow word count. And I think this is actually why the longer sprints actually work better for me. But Pomodoro 25-minute sprints is actually pretty popular for live streaming. But I realized that with longer sprints, I start like picking up the pace, like the speed and the velocity. So like in like the 45-60 minute sprints, my word count is always exponentially higher, even though like yes, more time, but it's just exponentially higher than the 25-minute sprints. I think because I just start getting into the mindset and the flow of it, so to
Yeah,
speak.
basically, you give yourself a warm up.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I'm always a big proponent of like warming up into a writing sprint. Yeah. But I feel like it's been pretty effective. I mean, 160,000 words so far. So,
I mean, hey, whatever works, right?
exactly. Well, we'll see how many words we end up with. 200,000 words, 500,000.
So basically, you're going for an epic.
Yeah, well, I think epic is anything that's 150 or more.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm
I
pretty sure
keep
epic.
thinking 200, but I feel like I'm a little high on that.
Yeah, I mean, according to Google, the average for fantasy genre is generally 90 to 120. Sometimes it can be pushed a little higher at 130, but 90 to 120 is the average for at least fantasy.
I wonder how
Sci-fi is
many.
probably pretty similar-ish, I imagine.
I wonder how
Crazy.
many words per minute do actual authors like Stephen King and stuff. I wonder how fast they could type. Because I
Well, you,
mean,
you know what's interesting is I think authors like that, Stephen King, Brandon Sanderson, authors who are like do it very well. For my guess is it's actually less about their per minute word or their per minute word count. I think they probably clearly because they pump out books at such a high velocity, it's their consistency and the amount of time that they spend writing every day. Right.
because
So I think authors like that are consistently spending 3 to 5 hours minimum writing every single day, or at least in the writing process, right? Especially when it's your
yeah,
livelihood. That's what you're known for. Like that's just what you do, if not
yeah,
more.
and there was even, and you can look it up on YouTube. There was like even when some years ago, I think, when George R. Martin was interviewing Stephen King, and he's like,
Hmm.
I just have like one question for you, man. How the fuck do you write so fast and get those books out so quickly? And Stephen King actually gave a legit answer of like he has a certain steps of how he does things so quickly.
Mm,
Hmm.
yeah. Anybody who's ever wanted to learn writing process, Stephen King's On Writing was a good
Hmm.
classic writing guidebook. On Writing is definitely a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, I saw a couple of you guys hop into the stream. So you hop in, Penumbra and Cap. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Megan, you said it sounds like you've been brainstorming for a few days on your story and are ready to write tonight. My word count, it took a little while to get into a sprint, even as I got back into the groove. Yeah, and I mean, sometimes when you haven't been writing for a while, and Crazy, you can probably relate with this since I know you took a break over the summer.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can like take you. I think everyone's different. Some writers, it takes like a little while to kind of get back into it, and other writers just go full like headlong
For
into
me,
the
it's
process.
it's still taken a while for me to actually get into it because my mind is it goes quick with being so used to not writing that it's still like, oh wait, we're supposed to oh whoopsie. And so it's still not even into the writing yet. I'm still like
Hmm.
into other things, but I'm like, no, we can do this. Come on.
And by the way, if you're just hopping into this stream, welcome. We're just chatting about like how do you get back into your writing style when you after taking a break from writing? Like what do you do? So what about you? I mean, you're pretty consistent with your writing. I would say of all the writers, of a lot of the writers I know in the community, you're generally consistent in terms of your like overall writing style. Do you ever take breaks from writing,
Um,
or have you?
Technically, right now, I'd actually consider that I'm sort of taking a break. I mean, I'm still doing my minimum,
Hmm.
but I'm not pushing myself to go well beyond that, like what I did in the writing challenge.
Hmm.
And I'm not in what I do like when I'm not writing. I will admit I still think about what I'm actually working on half the
Hmm.
time, but I'm actually like sitting down and I'm like, okay, you know what? You did your minimum.
Hmm.
Now you have time to go play your Switch. You have time to actually touch the alpha game that you have on your
Hmm.
PC. You have time to read an actual physical book.
Hmm.
And just kind of letting my mind, I guess, not exactly reset, but kind of calm down from August
Hmm.
and not feel like it has to keep constantly going.
Mm. Yeah, and I totally understand that. I think what I always tell writers is that like it's all right to take breaks. I think it's all right to take breaks, or it's all right to do less as long as you're intentional with it. The thing that I
Mhm.
hate to see that happens to so many writers, and this happened to me in my past, so like this is why I get it. When I was busy, 40-hour, 60-hour work weeks doing customer service and retail, I hear this from writers all the time where they just get burnt out and they stop writing for years. And I was like, that sucks. It's not that you don't like writing; you're just stretching yourself thin.
Mhm.
Been
So
there,
I
done
was like,
that.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's why intentionality is so important. It's like if you're burnt out, like go take a month off, or even like so like you're able to do like still your daily minimum. I think that's actually really powerful. And I think overall, even if you stop writing for a month, it's once again, it's the mindset, right? It's like, it's the mindset of the writing mindset. I know that confidently, even if I took a break for a month, I would be no less of a writer. I'd be a writer who took a break for a month. But I've been writing my entire life, and that's just like I know myself well enough to be able to say that.
Right.
Mm-hmm. By the way, Penumbra, you said interesting comment. You said you're revising Stars Over Pagosa. It's kind of a cool title, by the way. I like that. Lynn, you said you took a month off of writing to outline and started drafting today. Ooh, that's exciting. By the way, I know Linda just published her, I think it was like book 5 or 6 of her paranormal series. Definitely worth checking out. Alyssa Winters on Amazon. Very, very cool. Well, that's cool. And I can actually relate with that. I mean, when I was in between drafts of Scarecrow, I think I took 2 months of outlining. I took 2 months of outlining, brainstorming, and planning between drafts 1 and 2 to kind of further develop the world, the characters, the map, and all these different things. So I think that can be very powerful. Some writers will go headlong into it from draft to draft. Obviously, each of our writing process is a little different. Yeah, actually, I'm kind of curious. That actually brings up a really good question. How long do you guys spend planning your books? Whether you're starting like a new project or whether you're like in between drafts, how long on average do you feel like you're like, okay, I do it in like a few days and start writing? Or do you feel like I try to give myself like a couple months? I'm kind of curious. I'd love to hear. Drop a comment.
I usually actually take about a day at the
Okay.
longest.
Mm-hmm.
Part of it is, well, not including my not including the fan fiction requests that I'm doing, but there's actually one request that I can actually use as a perfect example for this.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody wanted one of my fan fictions to become a series,
Mm-hmm.
which I still cannot get over that. I thought that was too funny. But I was sitting there and I'm like, okay, well, technically the second story is already written, so I already kind of have something I can work off of, but how exactly do these two characters meet? And I think it took me about 2 hours to actually think of something to work off of.
Mm-hmm.
And I have most of it planned out. I only have like a few lines written because
Mm-hmm.
I've kind of been bouncing between, I just finished one of my requests today,
Mm-hmm.
but it only took me a couple hours to actually think of the prequel for that. Pirates, yeah, no, that took me way too long. Burning Ember took way too long. Technically 19 years to get that done and published, but the final version of it, I think it took about 3 days to actually decide. Once I had a version that I liked, it's like, wait a minute, this is working. This is going to work.
Mm-hmm.
I took 2-3 days to actually think of it, and then I just sat down and wrote.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm not really sure how to answer for Shifting Flame because I actually planned that while I was writing the first book.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing for Raging Inferno.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really have, if I like condense the time, it probably would only be like a few hours at the most, but not really longer than half a day.
By the way, cool, welcome. The question I asked everybody was, I was just curious how long it takes people to work on their projects or how long it takes people to plan for new projects. I feel like everyone's brainstorming is a little different.
One thing that also might make a difference with me is I'm also a pantser.
Yeah, right. I think our community, our cool community terms for it was discovery writer and architect. I don't know why. I just never liked the Panzerverse plotter. I was like, I feel like I think we all voted on this like last year at some point. Discovery writer versus an architect.
Oh yeah, I think that was maybe in the
I
spring.
remember that.
It might have been on one of our writers groups actually.
It was.
I think it was on a writers group. What's a discovery writer and what's an architect? Discovery writer, you just start writing because you like to discover the story as you are creating the words. Architect, you like to plan and organize and brainstorm all the story elements before writing. But even if you're a discovery writer, even when the story is written, the draft, you still have to plan the things to still make the characters work. Like there's still planning that has to go into it regardless of what style of writer you are. Once the core story is developed, or you end up creating a story where some character connections might not make sense. You might be have some plot holes and things like that. So, and I saw a couple comments. By the way, was that Cap? By the way, Cap, that's really cool. You said you visited a set today to do an extra and got a bunch of people interested in Sushi Week. That was fun. And this is a huge like recommendation for writers. Like if you have your story or if you have something set, please have somewhere to send people when you talk to them about your stuff. If you're at a point where something's published, or I know Cap, you have a treatment, you got to be able to send people somewhere. And like, of course, we all have social media. Like social media is like the easiest one, but I think like whether you have a website, a YouTube, even a link tree is super easy, right? Always recommend have somewhere to send people, because if you're talking to someone about your story and they're like, oh, I want to know more, even if maybe it's published, maybe it's not, and you're like, oh, okay, well, I don't have anywhere. It's just a missed opportunity. That's all. And then when you publish it later on, then if you're posting on your socials, people will they'll be more likely to check it out. Let's see, what do we got? Cool. So you said I get a half an idea and start putting words on pages. Yeah, so it kind of sounds like you're a discovery writer as well. Cool. Sounds like you're a discovery. Absolutely.
That's definitely like me.
Mhm.
I'll start getting an idea for something, and then I'll be like, oh, better start jotting that down, and I start doing it, and then that's when it's like, okay, what happens next? Okay, what happens next? Okay, so I'm like that too. I get half the idea, and then I'm like, all right, I get it. Let's go.
That actually gives me a good idea. Don't mind me. I try to be on top of whenever I think of new video ideas. Bear with me just a second. I should probably do a video about discovery and discovery writers and architects and like what that actually means, what it means. Because I think there's been a lot of Panzer Plotter things, and it's the same framework. But I think there's a lot of misconception on what does it mean to be like a discovery writer. What does it mean to be a successful discovery writer? I am of the belief that no writer in the existence or history of anything can write drafts all the way to final draft without some form of planning throughout the process.
Mm-hmm. There's always at least a touch of it.
I was like, I just don't think it's possible. But I mean, it could be biased. It could just be me. I'm a blend.
Maybe if you're writing a short story.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So, right, if you're doing flash fiction, absolutely. If you're writing a short story, you probably could get away with it. I think when I say it, I'm thinking more of like the novel category, which tends to be 60,000 or more words, maybe 50,000 depending. But I think anything that's about 50,000 or more words, there's just because there's more story elements, you have to make sure that things make sense. And there's generally a lot of moving parts. So, but I would love to be proven wrong. If somebody has done it successfully and has a final draft and it's sound, and they haven't gone through any type of planning after the rough draft. And then it looks like Cap is the exact opposite. So Cap, you said it takes me like a year to plan a full story, right? And it just goes to show, right, how like different styles of writers we are when it comes to story development. I want to say I fall somewhere in between Discover and Architect. I mean, you guys know I did Scarecrow. Scarecrow started off as a 2-page free write off of the picture I show all the time. And it was literally just like one scene about a crow taking a scarecrow's hat. That's all that it was. Like, it's literally as simple as that. And then I just started writing some like an adventure, and then 5-10 chapters. I think by the time I got to chapter like 5 to 10 somewhere, that's when I kind of pulled back. I'm like, okay, I kind of have the framework for the beginning of a journey. And that's when I came up with a rough outline for the book and gave myself a direction for what type of story I wanted to tell and what type of world was interesting to me. Let's see. Oh, by the way, foreshadowing. High five, cool. I love foreshadowing. Foreshadowing is one of my favorite things, by the way. I love foreshadowing so much. And I think maybe that's me as like a reader. I love reading a book where there's been so many clues that maybe I picked up on some of them, maybe I didn't, but the rereadability is like one of the coolest things for me, because I know my favorite books, I'm going to reread them. And might not be like back to back, but I know I will reread them once a year or once every couple of years, depending on the series. And I like being able to reread it and be like, oh, I missed things that I didn't get the last time. And I think for me, like the thing that I want to be very like unique about my storytelling is I want there to be like an extreme amount of foreshadowing done, but for a lot of different types of foreshadowing. For readers to be able to pick up on things, not pick up on things, but the foreshadowing elements, whether you get them or you don't, doesn't detract from the overall reading experience. It's kind of like if you get the puzzle pieces, it helps you figure out more of the ending.
True.
Mm-hmm.
I do love me some foreshadowing in a lot of things in my books.
Mm-hmm.
I love doing that stuff.
Do you guys do a lot of foreshadowing in your stuff?
I do. I've
Mm-hmm.
done that a lot in several of the books that are supposed to be connected. I do a lot. I've been doing a lot of foreshadowing, and then it's supposed to all pay out in the very last book.
That's really cool. Do you usually end up doing a lot of foreshadowing with like objects, or do you do foreshadowing more through like dialogue of like things that characters say, or more like world building elements? I'm just
Kind
kind
of
of curious.
it, kind of
Or is
both,
it a mix?
both through like yeah, it's like a mix of like dialogue and
Mm-hmm.
certain objects and uh, um, certain people that are supposed to connect with everything, even though at certain moments you're like, who is he? Why is he here? Oh, he's just a plain douchebag. Okay, sure. And then by the end, you're like, oh, he was a lot smarter than I put him with. Okay.
It's like when you start writing a character and you have one idea of them in the beginning, and then by the time you
Mhm.
get like through the story to the end, like you've realized you were completely wrong.
Yes,
And
exactly.
that's a cool thing, right? That's the great thing about writing, is that we get to discover and understand and figure out who the characters are as we are developing the story,
Mhm.
regardless of whether you're a discovery or an architect. Because even if you're an architect writer, you can make all the plans for all your characters, all the outlines and everything. And as you're writing the story, things could change, because it
Mhm.
might actually make sense while you're writing. Like, oh, I thought I was going to have the character do this thing, but no, it just doesn't work creatively. It actually makes sense to have them do the other thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes you don't want to, if you're foreshadowing something, you don't want to just put put someone or something on there just for the sake of foreshadowing. You kind
Mm-hmm.
of like want to get to know that thing or person. Why is it there exactly?
Mm-hmm.
Um, not
It's
just oh,
not there
there's
to
a
be
thing.
there.
Yeah, it's not there to look at and go,
Yeah, it's
ooh,
intentionality, right?
wow.
We can't just
Yeah,
have things that don't either affect the plot or your main character's journey.
right,
Generally. Mm-hmm.
right.
Well, I actually might be able to argue against it. I cannot think for the life of me now. I cannot think of an actual legitimate example, but I know there's something I read not too terribly recently, I feel like. Something appeared in the, like almost in like in the backgrounds,
Mm-hmm.
but I've always been under the impression if something is going to appear in a scene,
Mm-hmm.
it's important in some way, shape, or form. And it's
Mm-hmm.
got to reappear eventually.
Well, if it's appearing in the background, if something's appearing as like a background element, the question is it like a foreshadowing element that is eventually going to affect the plot, or is it something that's more for world building? Because if you're doing a world building thing, it's really, world building is important, but at the end of the day, the world building is how does it affect your main character? Because we
Right.
don't connect emotionally with the world. We don't connect emotionally with how cool a scene is set up. We connect emotionally with how how it affects the character. That's a
Right. I remember whatever I saw, though, it wasn't something that had to do with world building.
Mhm.
It seemed completely and utterly random. I mean, it was almost like it was inserted into the scene just for the sake of being there. And
Mm,
then, like, 5, 6 chapters later, it is
mhm.
suddenly like this massive thing. And
That's
it's
kind of
like, oh, so it was random,
cool.
but that randomness was the actual foreshadowing. It's just the way it was written, it didn't
Mhm.
feel as significant as it ended up being. I've seen that in a couple
Mhm.
places, but that was
Interesting.
I want to say
They
Guardians of the
used
Galaxy when I
the
read this right.
background. They used it as a background effect as almost a red herring. They used its appearance as a red herring to subvert expectations that it was actually going to become more of a predominant point. It's
Yeah,
interesting.
because I mean, it wasn't even like something. It wasn't even like a secondary thing when it finally showed up. No, it was like the main thing,
Mm-hmm.
which I thought would. That's what caught my eye about it. It's like, wait, okay then.
I mean, this is the awesome thing with writing, guys. Like, there's a lot of recommendations and strategies to writing a book, right? But for every single time you hear a rule, you hear a strategy or a way to do things by authors, there's somebody out there who's figured out how to break that rule and do it effectively. I'm a proponent of learn how to do the basics well enough and then figure out how you want to break the rules, right? Because a lot of times writers try to break the rules, do these really clever things, but because they haven't built up the skill to be able to do the basics, it comes across as it's not clear. And then the lack of skill is more obvious because they're trying to do something really awesome, but maybe the dialogue isn't strong, or maybe the dialogue tags, or maybe there's the descriptions, like it's too much telling and not enough showing, things like that.
Yeah, as long as you know the basics, that's really the important thing, and then you can just kind of go from there. But without learning the basics, the only really hard and fast rules for writing, just you're gonna fail if you don't at least know that.
Awesome. Well, this is an absolutely great conversation, my friends. Before we hop into the next writing sprint, quick shout out for those of you who are wanting feedback in the community. Well, we got a couple things. First off, this Saturday is the next story and critique stream. So if you want free feedback on your story, submit now. You get a live reading and a live critique. It's everyone's favorite stream. Next episode is this Saturday. Link is down in the YouTube description down below. And then this is a heads up that once again, Freaky Friday, our next writing competition. You guys got just under 2 weeks left to submit. So definitely make sure to submit now. Link with all the information is down in the YouTube description. So definitely go check that stuff out. We got some cool things in the community. I'm looking forward to seeing all the ghost stories and like creepy and supernatural. Like we got some fun stuff. Like I mean, granted, I don't know any of the stories, but I just from the enthusiasm from what writers are talking about in the Discord, I can tell people are excited. So, but on that note, we're gonna hop into a writing sprint. Now, my schedule's a little up in the air this week because I have to. I'm changing studios, so I'm actually going to be taking off. But Chat Soul is going to lead the writing sprints for you guys. That way, you guys can all still get some writing in. And crazy, it sounds like if you're going to be able to try to get some words in today as well.
Yes.
But I'm going to take off during the writing sprint, but I just want to say, everyone, thank you so much for joining. I hope you guys can get some words in. I'm actually a little jealous because I really need to make progress on Scarecrow, but I'll do a writing sprint tomorrow. So I wanted to make sure to come join the conversation. And as always, I started the writers group not feeling too much in the writing vibe, and I'm definitely in the writing vibe. But
it happens.
Awesome. So let's hop into a writing sprint. So how long are you thinking for this first sprint?
Let's see. We've been on here about 30 minutes. I'd say we'll start off with a 35-minute sprint.
Okay, cool. So we'll start off with 35 minutes. Make sure to stick around till the break. We'll come back, check in, see how all of our writing is in. And Chats, I'll let you take it from here.
All right.
You,
if anyone's got anything they want to chat about during the break between sprints, go ahead and leave it in the comments, and I will get to it once we're done. There we go. And we'll start. Alright, well, I hope everyone got some writing done. And Crazy, you are muted.
How about now? Is it good? Hello?
Nope.
Can you hear me now?
Still nothing. Well, for those of you that are writing, just send a comment and tell us how you did. I know for myself, yeah, a little more writing, a little more research than writing, still decent. We decided to work on a weird.
Hello?
Okay, yeah,
Hello?
no, if you need to do that, go ahead. Hey, girl. But no, I decided just to work on a fan fiction, so good start on your spooky story. Are you for the for the Freaky Friday competition? I believe I saw that Kaufman is doing something on Sunday about that, but I'll let him obviously talk about that probably on Sunday or something. I'll give Crazy a moment to get back. No, hopefully everyone got 190 words, and you're back.
Is it working?
Yes, now I hear you.
Okay, there we go. I still can't see myself on here, so maybe it's just my laptop being kind of cuckoo.
Gotta love when that happens.
I know. So frustrating, but I love it. Frustration for the win.
So, what are you working on today?
Uh, Added a few more details to my Razio Chronicles. I had to completely redo the very first chapter because, unfortunately, the original one got completely erased. So I have to do the first chapter from scratch. So it's kind of like I have no remembrance of what I put on there, so I'm just making it up as on the fly, but still putting more details on it. And I actually did pretty good this time. I got a few words in there, a few paragraphs in there and stuff. So
Do you keep Do you keep like a backup copy of your stuff?
unfortunately, no. That was it. Was actually the it was not last week. It was the week before when we were doing a writing sprint, and that was when I said, hey, it all got completely erased. I pressed the wrong buttons, and by that time, it was too late for me to undo it.
Mm.
So I have to kind of redo it, and hopefully, this time I won't get so sloppy and stupid with, pressing the wrong button.
What program are you using to write?
What was that?
What program are you using to write it on?
I'm using Inkit, the same where it's the same website that I post my books, publish
Oh,
them,
okay.
and stuff.
I just asked because I've noticed that I know like a AutoCrit has this feature, and I think even Google Docs has it now. And somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but some programs seem to have started having a previous versions that you can actually go back to. And yeah, no, I actually don't ask me how I did this. I have no idea, but I somehow deleted all 26 chapters of something.
Oh, that's bad.
I had a minor panic attack. I'm not gonna lie.
I would not blame you. I had the same reaction when I accidentally erased my first chapter completely.
It's just lovely, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm still kind of having one because I realized probably until I get all the way out of Inkit and then back into it, for now, it's acting like the book that I'm recently writing on is not existing at all. Because usually I would have to go kind of back and forth of what did I originally say? Okay, thank you. And then usually there's a manage books and drafts. It's not in drafts right now. like it doesn't exist. So the only thing I can hope for is is getting completely off Inkit, and then once I get back on, it'll probably show up, hopefully. So
Oh, that is just lovely.
I know, and this whole thing is just giving me panic attack after panic attack. It's great.
But maybe you should move like to Google Docs, because Lynn said that it has a version history that you can go through. So maybe try working on there, and that way, if like you lose another chapter, you would actually have something that you can go back on, even though, like, if you like close out the program.
Gotcha. Google Docs. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you, Lynn.
I'm kind of with Lynn on that. I don't use Inkit myself. I use a AO3 for my fanfictions.
Yeah.
I make sure that everything I post is in at least 2 other places before I post on AO3. I've been doing a lot of headcanons and scenarios, and I write it in like autocrit first, and then I go and I have a draft in Tumblr, and then I also have a draft in AO3. That way, I have it somewhere safe.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
God, even that can be a nightmare sometimes.
No kidding.
But I'd say I'm not going to start it yet, but I'm thinking the next one we'll do a full 40. Ugh. Writing it on Grammarly. Huh.
Oh yeah, I've heard about Grammarly, but I've
I
heard
got to admit,
tons
I
of
didn't know you could write directly on that. I thought it was just one of those like extensions that kind of just works with your browser. I didn't realize it was something you actually kind of like wrote on.
true. I mean, I've heard good things about it and bad things about it, so it's kind of like a 50-50.
Yeah. Isn't that kind of everything though?
True. Kind of like my mood in the mornings before coffee.
That's actually a really smart idea, Lynn. I'm going to pull that up here. Yeah, that is actually a super good idea. I mean, even if it's got the version history, it's smart to kind of back things up. I need to do that with my own.
Yeah.
All of my stuff, like literally all of my stuff is on autocrit, and if that would crash, God, I lose so much.
that besides crash, the other thing that at least I would worry about is, let's say you haven't been on there for years or whatever, and you completely forget the password, and there's no, like, it didn't save your password or anything, so you're pretty much screwed.
Oh, usually in that case, you can actually just message the support team, and most places I've seen are actually pretty good about helping you through that.
Fair.
Because I actually did that some years ago. I think like with one of my old emails, something I had like back in high school, and I messaged the support team, and I told them that I needed to get into that because, and do not ask me why, for some reason, to change my email on a site I was using, it needed me to access my old email.
Yeah.
Which I didn't even know it was using the old email. So I had to actually try to get in there, and my God, that took, I think, like 3 days.
That's a classic thing. You'll be like, okay, I need to, I guess, create a new password or something, and then you start to create it, and it's like, oh well, this has already been used, or maybe your email or something, and you write it down. It's like, it's already been used. It's like, then what is my password?
Oh God, that is always a nightmare.
It's classic. It's frustrating, but a nightmare nonetheless, and a good nightmare for October.
Yeah, ain't that the truth?
That should be the ultimate Halloween movies. Forgetting passwords.
I
Or
think way
email.
too many people would be terrified of that.
Exactly. It would break box offices and everything, man.
Oh God, it would seem like the stupidest concept to watch. Yeah, no, you're right. It would
Yeah.
just be like the best thing ever.
Yeah. Wouldn't have to worry about no killers or anything, just that. and be like, "Oh gosh,
Oh yeah, and the
oh
entire movie would just simply be about trying to fix this, and nothing is working, and every little
and
fix you're trying is just making it worse or
and
something.
and I know the length of the movie would seem boring, but I mean the suspense of it all should really grab a hold of somebody good enough.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. And I gotta say, Susan, kudos to using a typewriter. I do not see those anymore.
Same here. I I wish I
Yeah,
still
I
had.
gotta admit,
Well, I
I
think but still.
making a mistake on a page that, oh god, that would drive me nuts.
Yeah, actually, I can see how that would drive you nuts. Yes, mistakes would be pretty bad on paper that you could not, say, "No, that's not what I meant." You have to either
Yeah, and
do it
just
all again or something.
you'd have to almost like, especially if you're further down the page, like or even like towards the
Yeah.
bottom, have to just retype everything
Mm.
and just God, I'm getting anxiety just thinking about that.
Oh
Um,
my goodness
on my
gracious.
phone, I will admit, nobody would ever know I'm a writer if I just use my phone because I make so many spelling mistakes.
I think the best that I would use for my phone when I would ever come to, like, spelling and what is my own messenger on Facebook, and I would type it so that, if I make any spelling mistakes, be like, "No, this is what I spelled it, this is how it's spelled, okay." I've used my own messenger for a lot of things just to make sure I don't make it sound stupid.
Yeah, no, I get that. I've done stuff like that before. I've kind of just sent it to myself through a text or through Messenger or
Mhm.
something that I can access between my phone and my PC. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's just another way to back up things, right?
True.
All right. Well, we are getting close to. We're a little over hour and 20 minutes, so I think it's time for the final writing sprints. And 40 minutes sound good to you?
Sounds good.
All right, then we'll start it here in just a moment. And good luck with writing, everyone. All right, well, hopefully that stream was good for everyone. Been on here long enough. I think it's time for everyone to hopefully try to get some rest, maybe try to write tomorrow, maybe procrastinate a bit more.
Can you hear me?
And yep, muted for me again.
Dang it.
Well, I am Chat Soul, and that is
Crazy.
And we will see you guys probably next Wednesday.
Stories are forever. I'm Kaufman, and I'll catch you on the morrow. Stay creative, writers.
It's time to write
Right now.
Sorry.
Right now, not right now, but right now. Read now, right now.